On the outer rim of the galaxy, where the stars twinkle like faulty Christmas lights and the planets are named after bored astronomers' pets, sat a retirement outpost known as Euphoric Meadows. It wasn't much to look at, a hodgepodge of steel domes that resembled discarded soup cans and a view of a nearby gas giant that most residents agreed was nice but gets old after a week. In one of these domes lived Captain Reginald Reggie Barrington III, a retired agent of the Human Intergalactic Defense Fleet's Section 7. Section 7 was so secretive that even their stationery exploded after being read. Now, Reggie spent his days playing holographic chess against a program set to mildly insulting and tending to his very unusual pets, twin dragons named Guff and Spork. To the untrained eye, Guff and Spork looked like oversized lizards with an affinity for perching on Reggie's furniture and eating his collection of antique toasters. But to those in the know, they were a technological marvel. Bioengineered creatures with metallic scales, plasma breath, and a knack for understanding sarcastic English commands. Reggie had raised them from eggs, smuggled out during his last mission when his superiors had suggested weaponizing them. It didn't sit right with him, so he retired, taking the dragons with him. And that's when the trouble started. It was a Tuesday, a day Reggie particularly disliked because Tuesdays seemed to attract unwanted visitors. Sure enough, his doorbell buzzed, a sound not unlike a small robot with indigestion. Reggie shuffled to the door, dragging his slippers, and opened it to find a group of rather unsavory individuals standing there. The leader, a gelatinous blob of an alien named Vlorp, oozed forward and adjusted the translator device strapped to his, well, whatever passed for his head. "Good day, ancient human." Vlorp's voice was oddly cheerful, like a used spaceship salesman about to sell you a vehicle held together by hope and duct tape. "We've heard you possess certain valuable items." Reggie squinted at them. "If you're here for my Elvis hologram lamp, you're out of luck. It's priceless." "No, no," Vlorp said, waving a gooey pseudopod dismissively. "We're here for your dragons." Reggie scratched his chin thoughtfully. "Dragons, you say? Can't imagine what you'd want with them. They're rare, unique, and worth more credits on the black market than a luxury yacht filled with caviar," Vlorp exclaimed, his gelatinous form jiggling with excitement. Reggie looked over his shoulder at Guff and Spork, who were currently playing tug-of-war with a steel beam from his ceiling. "Those dragons? Are you sure?" "Very sure," Vlorp said, his voice taking on a menacing tone. "Now step aside, human, and no one gets hurt." Reggie stepped aside, but not for the reason Vlorp expected. He leaned casually against the wall and tapped his cane on the floor 3 times. Guff and Spork immediately stopped their tug-of-war and turned their glowing eyes toward the intruders. They tilted their heads in unison, an unsettlingly synchronized motion that suggested they were deciding which smugglers to incinerate first. "Dragons, attack!" one of Vlorp's goons shouted, firing a plasma net at Guff. The net hit Guff's titanium scales and disintegrated with a sound like a toaster exploding. Guff snorted, releasing a small burst of plasma breath that melted the gun, and the goon holding it. Spork, not to be outdone, leapt gracefully from the ceiling beam and landed in front of another smuggler, who immediately dropped his weapon and screamed, "I regret everything." "Good girl, Spork," Reggie said, waving a hand signal. Spork wagged her tail, which accidentally knocked over a bookshelf. These dragons are defective," Vlorp stammered, backing away. Reggie chuckled. "Defective? Oh no, my gelatinous friend. They're enhanced, skin impervious to weapons, a healthy dislike of smugglers, and an unparalleled fondness for roast alien." "Retreat!" Vlorp yelled, but it was too late. Guff and Spork moved as a coordinated unit, a blur of claws, scales, and smug satisfaction. One smuggler after another was dispatched with ease, tossed out the window, or in one particularly unfortunate case, stuffed into a laundry chute. With his crew either unconscious or jammed into various household appliances, Vlorp lay sprawled on the floor, his gelatinous form wobbling like a bowl of terrified jelly. Reggie crouched beside him, resting his chin on the head of his cane. Guff and Spork flanked him, their glowing eyes fixed on the alien leader. "Why? Why would you do this to us? Florp whimpered. Reggie smiled. When you woke up this morning, did you expect to meet dragons? No, Florp admitted. That's the thing about life, Reggie said, leaning closer. It's full of surprises. Like me, for instance. Did you honestly think a retired special agent of Section 7 wouldn't have a few tricks up his sleeve? Section 7 is a myth, Florp protested weakly. Sure it is, Reggie said, patting him on what he assumed was a shoulder. Now, why don't you tell me who sent you, and maybe I'll let you leave with your dignity intact. Vlorp hesitated, then spilled everything. It turned out a rival smuggling syndicate had put out the word about Reggie's dragons, hoping someone else would do the dirty work of stealing them. Reggie listened carefully, then stood up and stretched. Right, Guff, Spork, we've got work to do. The dragons chirped enthusiastically. Reggie turned to Vlorp. Here's the deal. You're going to deliver a message to whoever sent you. Leave me and my dragons alone, or the next time they won't be so gentle. Gentle, Florp screeched, still leaking a small puddle of what might have been alien tears. Reggie ignored him and turned to his dragons. You two up for a little trip? Guff and Spork nodded, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. As Reggie prepared to leave Euphoric Meadows for the first time in years, he received an unexpected visitor, Dr. Mira Langley, the station's veterinarian, and the only person who had ever managed to give Spork a dental checkup without losing a finger. I heard what happened, Mira said, hands on her hips. You're planning something stupid, aren't you? Stupid? No. Mildly reckless? Absolutely, Reggie admitted. Mira sighed. You're going to need backup. I'm coming with you. Reggie raised an eyebrow. You against an intergalactic smuggling ring? Let me remind you, Mira said, pulling a laser scalpel from her belt. I once performed surgery on a pyrovine while it was still awake. I can handle myself, and this laser scalpel. Reggie smiled. Fair enough. Welcome aboard. The showdown took place on a derelict space station orbiting a dying star. Reggie, Mira, Guff, and Spork infiltrated the smuggling syndicate's base with a combination of stealth, dragon-assisted pyrotechnics, and Mira's surprisingly effective ability to sweet-talk security droids. When they reached the syndicate leader's office, Reggie kicked the door open dramatically. Inside sat a hulking alien with 6 eyes and an expression that suggested he'd rather be anywhere else. Who are you? The alien growled. I'm the guy whose dragons you tried to steal, Reggie said. And this is the part where you apologize. The leader laughed, a deep, guttural sound. Apologize? To you? I don't think so. Spork chose that moment to incinerate his desk. Fine, I'm sorry. Where in the 9 galaxies did you get dragons? They could come in handy to expand my business opportunities. Reggie shot him a frowning glare. Expand? I am shutting you down. Don't make me use these dragons on you, the alien yelped, raising all 6 hands in surrender. With the syndicate dismantled and the smuggling network in chaos, Reggie and Mira returned to Euphoric Meadows victorious. You know, Mira said as they watched Guff and Spork playing in the yard, those dragons of yours aren't just pets, they're family. Reggie smiled. Yeah, they are. And so are you if you want to stick around. Mira blushed. Are you asking me to move in? I'm asking you to help me keep these 2 in line, Reggie said, gesturing to the dragons, who were now attempting to eat the satellite dish. Mira laughed. I suppose someone has to make sure you don't get yourself killed. And so life at Euphoric Meadows continued, with Reggie, Mira, Guff, and Spork forming an unlikely but unbreakable team. As Reggie often said, retirement isn't the end, it's just the beginning, especially when you have dragons.